Welcome to the Mind, Body, Home podcast. If you're looking for the Living Elemental podcast, you are in the right place. I changed up the name for 2024, and Mind, Body, Home just feels way more aligned with what I want to share in the coming year. So if you're new here, I'm your host, Sarah Ann. And if you've been following along, thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. By you showing up, you give me a sense of purpose and you help me show up as well, because I think this podcast is really for the both of us. I think there's so much we can share through the power of our voice and our words. And so I hope that what I have to share inspires you, resonates with you, maybe even challenges you a bit, right? By sharing and hearing myself speak about these topics helps me reinforce them for my own life. So it really helps me to show up for me. I've actually always been an auditory learner. It's interesting, actually. I remember the younger me as a student, if I had homework or a test to study for, or I didn't even really need to be studying. I just loved teaching and playing school. I would sort of pace around in my room pretending to teach the class. When I was really young, I would set up my stuffed animals and pretend to teach them. I mean, I did this for years. Even now as an adult, I still talk to myself out loud every single day. I have multiple conversations with myself. If I'm curious now that I'm admitting that, if that's normal. I'm curious if anybody else does that. Let me know if you do. And it really didn't hit me until much later in my life that I actually learned best this way. So it's really no surprise that I'm now a podcast host and I enjoy sharing knowledge and wisdom, not only because I love to, but because it helps me learn and deepen my own practice and commitment to this lifelong work of self-discovery. I mean, that's why we're here. That's what this podcast is really about. How can we be bettering ourselves? How can we bring a more conscious awareness to our environments, our mental, our physical, our emotional, behavioral well-being? The mind, body, home connection is all of those things. It's mind, body, spirit, space. I'll still plan on talking about the elements. As I mentioned, the title of this podcast was the Living Elemental podcast previously. Um, so I will still talk about the elements because they're found in everything. But of course, topics on decorating, Feng Shui, but also areas of life that we're being called to improve upon. That's why we're here. We wouldn't be having a human experience if we felt we were fully enlightened and found ourselves so deeply rooted in love as our only emotion. That's not the case, not for us humans. We have a wide range of emotions and experiences that typically are perceived as positive and negative. And how does that show up in our life? Through the thoughts we think, the beliefs we have, the physical pain that we experience, the cluttered environments we can't seem to escape. So, talking about the mind body home connection allows me to sort of touch on all of those aspects of human life. And for listeners, it's easy to understand. Mind body home explains itself rather than overcomplicating what it means to be quote unquote living elemental. I found that I was having to over explain what that really meant. When I'm having to over explain something, I'm overcomplicating it as well. Over explaining is overcomplicating. So, in order to simplify and make it tangible for the everyday person, Mind Body Home just made more sense. I've done a lot of self-discovery over the last 10 years, 10 plus years, really. And I've been yearning for a way to be able to interweave my love for decorating, Feng Shui, spirituality, and self-development. And I have found that through podcasting. And I've also been able to align these principles with other aspects of both my business and my life values. My mantra for the podcast has always been to focus on serving and not selling. And I really try to keep that at top of mind because as you make efforts to grow your podcast or anything online, which is always the goal is always to expand and grow, right? You can easily get wrapped up in some of the same business and marketing tactics, like posting every day on social and across all the platforms. What is your offer? What's your sales pitch? What are your numbers? How many followers do you have, right? And that's all great and necessary to an extent. However, I'm choosing, the key word here is choosing, to approach this year with a bit more ease and trust. I have to trust that I'm being guided to share this information. And it's simply my job to show up and share. How I'll be rewarded, I don't know. I'm leaving that up to the universe. Do I have goals and aspirations and desires? Sure. Again, I'm human, but I'm not attaching to them. I have to maintain a belief that what is meant for me will be mine. And so trusting and believing and showing up with joy and gratitude is really all that's required of me. And it's interesting, my mentor for many years now, Susie Moore, she talks a lot about ease. It's kind of her tagline. In fact, it's the title of her podcast, Let It Be Easy with Susie Moore. And I can't help but think, what if we could just let it be easy? No matter what it is. For me, it's not even the word easy. It's more about the word let. We get to choose how we experience life. We can stress over small things. We can worry ourselves sick. We can distract ourselves with limiting thoughts and beliefs or poor choices and habits. Or we can let things be easy. If the word easy, if what I'm saying is resonating with you, I do really recommend Susie's podcast along with her group coaching program, Self Coaching Society. I'm actually a part of it. I've been a part of Susie's world now for probably 6 years. She is the sweetest. She's such a delight, and her energy is so uplifting. And she really has a genuine approach to how she shares life wisdom with her audience. So if you're interested in learning more about Susie's work, again, I've been a long time follower. I will put a link to her website and some of her offerings in the show notes for you. And it's interesting that the word ease sort of kept coming up for me at the beginning of this year. I was on a group meditation call just last week, led by my dear friend Rain. She runs group meditation online for personal growth through her program, Stillwater Meditation. And I've had Rain on the podcast. I've been on hers. She has a podcast called Every Moment is Sacred. And during our recent meditation call, she read to us a poem titled For a New Beginning by John O'Donohue. And it's a beautiful poem. There was one line in particular that read, quote, "Learn to find ease in risk," unquote. And when she was done reading the entire poem, a couple of us sort of jumped in with like, whoa, that line, finding ease and risk. And so I can't help but ask you or include that topic into today's episode at the start of this new year. What is it that you're desiring? What do you know that's intuitively speaking to you? Because we all know on some level that, a lot of us make excuses. We let fear set in. We self-sabotage. We respond to ourselves and others with the word, but I want X, but fill in the blank, right? It's not the right time. It's not the right place. It's not the right energy. It's not the right relationship. It's, there will always be something that we can find to hold us back. But can you learn to find ease in risk? What risks have you not been taking because you're not letting it be easy? The poem's beautiful. I'll put a link to the poem in the show notes along with a link to Rain's Stillwater Meditation. She's a beautiful person, and I recommend anyone to her who wants to maybe deepen their meditation practice for this year. If that's something on your 2024 list, check out Rain's offerings as well. And so where am I going with all of this for today? Well, for me, without pushing myself to set strict goals, intentions, and words of the year. And I'm choosing to add more ease into my life, um, my business, my parenting, my immediate relationships, my closest family and friends, my house hunting. For those of you that don't know, we're looking for a home. We're just in a rental right now since we just recently relocated to Austin, Texas. The way I approach decorating and Feng Shui, my time, how can I find more ease with my time? My meditation practice, my self-care, where in these areas have I been making it more difficult, and where can I find more ease? So I hope you'll join me on this journey of ease for 2024. And I have a small intention practice. And I just mentioned, I don't push myself to set strict goals and intentions. It's not like I'm going to hit the gym 5 days a week. I'm not drinking alcohol ever. I'm only eating fruits, vegetables, and hot tea for the next month. I'm talking about that strict stuff. That doesn't feel easy. That feels restrictive. So I'm not talking about setting intentions in that way, but I do want to set 3 intentions. And I hope you'll join me in setting these. It's sort of in honor of the new title of the show, Mind, Body, Home. I want to set 3 intentions, one for each. One intention for mind, one intention for body, and one intention for home. And you can have multiple for each, but I want you to at least set one intention for each one of those. I'm going to read to you what I've set for my intentions. And I want to touch on these 3 throughout the year, sort of as the seasons change and we move into different elemental cycles. I want to see how these are coming up for you in the new year now. And I also want to see how they come up for you throughout the year and towards the end of the year. And I also want to note that if you haven't sort of hit the ground running at January 1, to not feel bad about that. I've never aligned with January 1st, the solar new year. It really wasn't until I learned more Chinese culture and philosophy, in particular Feng Shui. The Chinese New Year is at the beginning of February. And so that feels a lot more aligned to me. So with all that said, if you have a pen and a paper, if you don't have it now, if maybe you're driving to work or to school or wherever, or you're sitting in the car listening, if you don't have pen and paper, be sure to save this episode and come back to it, because I think this could be a really fun experiment, because I want to bring attention back to it throughout the year. So my 3 intentions for 2024 as they relate to mind, body, home. And before I even go there, I want to, I always talk a lot about intuition. I don't want you to overthink this. I want you to just write down on a sheet of paper, mind, body, home, and sort of get yourself settled in a quiet space. Take a few deep breaths and just sort of ease into it. There's no rush here. There's no, you can't get it wrong. Don't stress over it. But what I want you to be mindful of is really just writing down maybe the first thing that comes to mind. So even though we wrote down mind, body, home, maybe in that order, maybe home, something about the home is something that comes quickly to you. And then body, and then mind, whatever. There's no rhyme, reason, order, anything. And really just letting your intuition sort of kick in. And your intuition kicks in fast. It kicks in before you can think. So be aware of that. You might get if it's the home, you might get an image of your bathroom, whatever. Write down bathroom and see what you got. And you might not be able to formulate a full intention in this moment, but you might be feeling called back to it in some way. So pay attention to how things show up. So I will read to you my mind, body, home intentions for 2024. And the first thing that came to me was home. Not surprised. But for me, as my life relates to my home, is staying patient with our home search and really being intentional about the space we move into. As I just mentioned, we're renting. We are currently looking for our permanent home here in Austin. I've gained a lot of knowledge over the course of the last few years, in particular, Feng Shui and energy and how that affects our spaces. And so I really want to take what I've learned and apply it. So that is my home intention, staying patient with our search and being very intentional about the space we move into. So being intentional to me means getting clarity, really writing down, this is what I want in my home. Look, I'm 40 years old. My kids are upper elementary. My son's going into middle school. This is the home I want to be in for at least the next 10 years. How is my home for the next 10 years, knowing what we have on deck? I'm still building my business. My husband is expanding in his career. My kids are going to be heavily involved in their studies and sports and activities. I want a home that is going to support the four of us. So knowing how I can address my space to support that, I want to be sure that the house that we choose has really good energy from that perspective. I can look at those areas of a home. I can look at the address. I can look at a lot of different things, but being intentional, having some clarity about what it is we want, and being really aware of the things that we don't want, things that I know may block good flow or energy to those areas of life, right? So being patient and being very intentional with our home search, because I feel this is the home we're going to be in for the next 10, 20 years, which is even more interesting because we're moving into a 20-year cycle. As we move into this year, it's a 9-year, it's wood, dragon energy, a lot of fiery energy in the beginning. So this energy is here to stay for the next 20 years. And that's getting a little bit deep into some of the Chinese philosophy and culture around those sorts of things, which I'm not going to get into today. But yeah, there's a lot that I sort of know that's coming. And so I'm taking a lot of that into consideration. Number two, the second thing that came up for my mind, body, home intention was body. I want to take better care of my body. I really want to work on healing a few areas. I've sort of dabbled in all sorts of different modalities and energy work and physical work, but I've never really stuck to one thing. And so I really want to take this year, find a modality, and really give it a go. So in particular, I have some pain in my lower back, right along my spine. I have some hip and gluteal pain. I have a lot of awareness around what emotions are sort of driving that, because your emotions are what drive physical pain. I've sort of been staying in victim mode, and I've sort of been lazy about really addressing it and sticking to practice to really transcend it. So that is my body intention, is to take better care, stick to something, one thing, and really drive it home and heal. And so then the third intention for mind on my list was, it's interesting. I didn't really write an intention. I actually just wrote what came. And what came was everything I just wrote for body and home won't be possible unless I gain control of my mind. Everything starts here. And just the way that's worded, and just by the words on the page, that was written directly from my inner guide. Everything starts here. Everything starts in the mind. As I just previously mentioned, I've been working on self-improvement and the laws of the universe. I've studied a lot of metaphysical philosophies over the course of 10 plus years, but I don't feel, kind of the same with body. I don't feel that I've ever really taken anything serious enough to get me to the next level. Mentally speaking, I want to be committed to being fully aware. I want to write and repeat positive affirmations to not change the thoughts, because before thoughts are beliefs. Really dig deep into my belief systems. What do I believe to be true? Because whatever it is I believe to be true are going to generate thoughts to prove it right. So really digging deep into my belief systems and rewiring the brain in a sense, repeating positive affirmations to train the brain to think a different way, being mindful or aware of when my emotions are getting the best of me. I've always been very reactive emotionally, but the more I learn about the mind-body connection and that somatic response, emotions is the driver of all of it. And so really gaining some control over those is part of that mind healing. Noticing when I'm not aware or conscious. And, maybe I'm getting defensive when my husband calls me out on my BS, right? Not getting irritated when he calls me out, having a gratitude practice. All of these things are things that I've learned or dabbled in over the course of the last decade, but I've never deeply committed myself to doing the work. It's kind of aligned there with body, not deeply committing. So I guess if I could sum up my intentions, mind and body is deep commitment to my practice, taking what I've learned and really applying it and applying myself and being the example for my family and my children. So those are my 3 intentions. Again, this practice is for you just as much as it is for me. Even though I am on this side of the microphone and I'm hosting a podcast, I don't ever want my ego to get in the way and act as if I know more, I know better, because I'm really using this platform to sort of learn and expand and grow right alongside you. So I'll be doing these exercises, I'll be doing these practices right along with you. So I'm looking forward to hearing. I would love for you, if you do this practice, to send me an email. Tell me what your intentions are. I would love to hold those in meditation for you and send you healing and blessing. There's great energy when we can do things collectively. And so please reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. Okay, so I hope you'll join me on this journey for 2024. I'm so excited about Mind Body Home and what's to come. I'm looking forward to future episodes already. I have so many things I want to talk about. I've been really deepening my Feng Shui practice and learning so much more. And as I just mentioned, my family and I are house hunting. I'm reestablishing my company in a new state. And so, as time allows, one of my side projects is also creating small courses or tiny courses. I'm thinking for homeowners and also for decorators. If any decorators are out there listening, I might have some things coming on board for you later in the year. I think I really want to create some courses so that we can sort of create a community. And, I think we could all benefit from being a little bit more mindful in how we tend to our environments, ensuring that we are creating spaces that are intentional, they are healing, they are connecting us to all these aspects of mind, body, home, and self discovery. As for the structure of this show, I still plan on having guests. I don't know how often I will release guest recordings. Last year, I committed to doing an every other week format where I would have a solo episode and then the following week have a guest interview. But I'm not sure how I'll trickle those in this year. So we're just going to keep rolling with solo episodes every Tuesday for now. Be sure you are subscribed. That way you're alerted of each new episode when it releases. Next week, I'm going to be talking a little bit about how to embrace the new year because, again, it's not too late. Going back to Chinese New Year, we're talking about the beginning of February, which is actually the beginning of spring energy, even though it's still cold in many places. We're transitioning into spring or wood energy, which is all about new beginnings. And so, whether or not you like to set your New Year's intentions and goals, neither approach is right or wrong. It's just how you operate in the world. Me, I tend to ride the middle. I don't get laser focused in on words of the year or the month. I don't focus on what I must eliminate from my life, as I, sort of alluded to previously. I like being open and unattached. Is that the word, unattached? I believe it is. Um, that works best for me. I find more ease. There's that word ease when I'm striving for just balance, right? Finding balance feels better to me than restricting myself or pushing myself to do more or be more. So if that resonates with you, take that in and really honor that for yourself. Because coming back to that mind, body, home connection, that's really what it's about. It's connecting those dots and finding that balance and becoming more aware of patterns, behaviors, physical sensations, how clutter shows up for you, how your space is reflecting your lifestyle goals. Listening to the mind, listening to the body, understanding those connections, is known as somatics. Many of us are aware of this connection already. My goal is to bring more awareness to how the home space or your environment is integrated into that connection as well. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you over the course of this year. Be sure to be on my email list. Something I want to get better at this year is being more in touch with my email list. It's something that I wasn't very consistent on, but I want to be sharing resources exclusively for my email subscribers only. I think I'm going to be pulling back a bit on social media, at least for now. That might change down the road, but I'm really in a place of reevaluating my relationship to social media. And so, that will probably become a topic down the road too. But my email list is the best way to stay in touch with me, with the show, and everything Jade Scott Design. So be sure you're subscribed to the podcast, share this podcast with family and friends, and also give a 5-star review if this calls to you. Reviews, sharing, subscribing, those are the best way to support me in providing you with free content. Every review is read and so very deeply appreciated. You can also go to my website, jadescottdesign.com, where you can learn more about my service offerings and decor items in the shop at Shop Elemental. So go ahead and check that out. Thank you to all of you. Happy Solar New Year. Looking forward to Lunar New Year and talking more about that and how to set up your living space to welcome in the new year next week. Until then, I'm sending you so much love.